Hello, BookTube. It's John from Toronto here. Today, I'm just sitting on my couch with this on my lap, and I'd like to do a sort of an intimate reflection of singer-songwriter Gordon Lightfoot and this book here. A nonfiction, and this song, this no, it's not a novel. This nonfiction book, biography of Gordon Lightfoot, is by Nicholas Jennings. On the back, you can see him playing there in the old days with Bob Dylan. So, yeah, so there's that. In 2023, May of 2023, Gordon Lightfoot died in Sunnybrook Hospital in Toronto at the age of 84, which was not bad considering he had a pretty rough life, let's say, being quite a big star. Certainly in Canada, he was an incredible star, sort of like, I don't know, like what, Elvis or something. But he sang and wrote his own songs, and he kept things very, what you see is what you get. No gimmicks or anything like that. He meant an awful lot in my life, and I'm sure in many other lives of Canadians and perhaps of other nations, people of other nations as well. Some of you might know his songs. The Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald, I guess, is probably most well known in the States. If You Could Read My Mind would have been some years before that. Also, his first really big hit, In the Early Morning Rain, which was also recorded by Peter, Paul, and Mary and other artists of the time. We're going back to 60s and 70s here for the most part. So there's something about a Gordon Lightfoot song that, as far as I'm concerned, only Gordon Lightfoot can sing. And what I mean is, he does the best job. That's his song. Others can do really good versions and all that, but Anne Murray, actually, another Canadian from the Maritimes this time, did a good job of Cotton Jenny, another one of Lightfoot's songs. I remember back when I was about 15 or 16, and I would walk all the way from my house, where I lived with my parents, my brothers, and it was in a snowstorm actually this time, and I walked the 3 miles to Fairview Mall, down to Music World, and bought the newest Gordon Lightfoot album that came out. I would always have to get it as soon as it came out, as soon as it was in the stores, and coming all the way back, and I walked. I could have taken the bus, I suppose, but I just thought, when you're 16 you can do anything, so I walked the 3 miles back as well, and then getting it home, taking it out, playing it, and just hearing the newest sounds of Gordon Lightfoot that he put together, the poetry, the musical arrangement, everything was just, I can't explain the feeling. It was quite euphoric, actually. And all through my life, really, I would say, he kept on putting out this quality product, these fantastic, I shouldn't call it product, these fantastic literary pieces, really. And of course, Sundown is another big hit. Where Do They End? Don Quixote. That's What You Get for Loving Me. There's a story behind that one, because that song is about basically, don't fall in love with me, girl, because I'll be going on to another girl right away, and I'll, I'll just use you and forget about you sort of thing. Um, Very sexist, obviously, and not a good part. I was never particularly fond of that song anyway. And when he was, I guess he was in his 80s and he was doing a documentary. They were doing a documentary about his life, and he said that he didn't play that song anymore in concert and hadn't for many years. And the reason was that he realized it was offensive to women. And he said, when I wrote that song, I was a married guy with two kids. Like, what did my wife think about that? And he he uh, he regretted that song, and at least lyrically, um, because the message is not a good one. It's very, very male chauvinist type things. He wasn't a perfect man. He was an alcoholic for a couple of decades at least, and he gave that up later sometime in his 40s. And but the music was just so perfect. That voice was so amazing. Um, and the people that he influenced, Bob Dylan, for example, a good friend of his, once said, "Whenever I hear a Gordon Lightfoot song, I wish it would last forever." And that about sums it up for me, too, you know, about how I feel about Gordon Lightfoot's music. The fact that he was Canadian and stayed in Canada, um, traveled extensively, obviously, in the United States and throughout Europe. um, and I remember also seeing him live in Massey Hall in Toronto for many, many years. Usually he would play about 2 weeks, sold out, at Massey Hall, which he called my place, my home. And that was his favorite place to play. And the acoustics in that old Massey Hall were just incredible. And it was really something to see him. Um, Many standing ovations, and he'd come out and do some more songs. Um, he was very self-effacing, almost self-deprecating on stage between songs. He would perhaps play 4 or 5 songs and maybe not say anything in between them, and then he might tell a funny little joke like, "She was only the horseman's daughter, but all the horsemen knew her. She was only the farmer's daughter, but all the horsemen knew her." Silly little puns like that. And another sort of corny thing he did was, well, now it's time in the show to introduce the members of the band. And so you think he's going to introduce the band members to the audience, but he goes over to them and starts shaking their hands. Just silly, corny material, right? Um, but on a really serious note, Gordon Lightfoot saved my life many times. I've never met him, but growing up, uh, you know, um, at different times in my life, his songs saved my life. And I mean that quite literally, because in periods of depression or great anxiety and things like that I've been through, um, you know, issues in the family or relationships, personal relationships, sometimes just work, you know. Before I was a teacher, I taught. Before I taught, I did many dead-end jobs, and I would get very, very, very down in very bad places emotionally. And the thing that saved me was to sit down and put on a Gordon Lightfoot album and listen to it. And it sort of kept me away from, let's say, self-destructive impulses. And I don't know what I would have done if it hadn't been for those Gordon Lightfoot albums. Um, Now, most of the time I played them because I was happy and I wanted to hear some nice tunes. but he wrote some very, very painful songs that let me know I wasn't alone as well. Some of them I can remember. One is called That Same Old Obsession, which is just piano. I believe it's just piano, or mostly piano, and it's quite a heavy song about, I suppose, love lost or something. Um, and then Too Late for Praying, which I believe is from the Sundown album, which is about humanity and, are we going to be able to save ourselves in a world where today we know, I mean, what's going on today? It seems kind of impossible at times, but um, we must push on. We must put our best foot forward. We must be kind to others and not give up. Those are the messages I get from his songs, and I think they're really, really important. So if you haven't, maybe some of you have never heard of Gordon Lightfoot, or maybe you haven't yet listened to some of his songs that were not hits. Like maybe you should go on YouTube and find his songs there. So beautifully put together. Um, I don't know. I was just feeling kind of reflective today. The weather's been kind of crappy, winter weather, and I just thought I'd put this video out on something a little different. So there you go. So if you get a chance, you might want to pick up this book. There. It also has some pretty good pictures. They're all black and white, but there are some pictures in here from all over the place. There was one I was looking at here just a moment ago. Where is it now? It's probably over here then. Don't tell me I'm not going to find it. Let's see here. Well, here he is with members of his band in the later years. I don't know if you can see that. So you can see them there, their name down there. And I don't know if that's coming through all right or not. There's also a nice shot of his Rosedale house. Rosedale is quite a rich area in Toronto. And I did see it here. I'm not going mad. Here we are. Right on the bottom there, you can see his. He had quite a nice house in Rosedale, right there. And so he was there for quite a while, and then he moved to another mansion, also in Toronto. So he had a full life. It wasn't always cheerful, but it was meaningful, and he touched so many people. And I'm sure I'm not the only one who feels like this, hardly. There must be thousands of Gordon Lightfoot fans around the world. And I just would like to try to keep his memory alive. The one thing I don't like about this book, obviously, is the sticker, 25% off over at Shoppers Drug Mart. I bought this a few years ago. It's not new. Oh, somebody wants to say hello. Who's that? Hey, oops. Who is that? Oh, I think it's the cat. Is that Felix? Oh, hi, Felix. How are you? How are you? How you doing? There you are. Anyway, on that note, we'll say goodbye and good night. Oops, something is showing up here. Hold on. Okay. Get that out of there. Okay. Well, anyway, have a good night, everybody. A good day, a good week, whatever. And maybe the next time I'll get back to, booktube stuff. Take care for now. All the best.